Enemy of the State. Available now at campfema.com.
Do you question authority? Do you have a negative attitude? Are you ever defiant or even disobedient? Do you ever exhibit hostile behavior towards authority figures? Well, guess what? According to the DSM-4, the Holy Bible of Psychiatry, you may just be suffering from oppositional defiant disorder. Brian Hill, a writer for USWGO News, confirmed that in the 4th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders on page 128 that free thinkers, nonconformers, civil disobedient advocates, those that question authority, and people considered hostile toward the government are mentally ill. Off the Grid News, who broke the story, reports that the new mental illness identified by the DSM-4 includes arrogance, narcissism, above-average creativity, cynicism, and antisocial behavior. In the past, these were called personality traits, but now they're diseases. But don't worry, folks, there is a treatment for the disorder. Just take these pink happy pills and get in line with the other worker bees. No need to ask questions of authority. It's all under control. And pay no mind to the corporate banking cartel that is robbing the American people, nor the legislators that legalize the theft. And if you get tased at your next traffic stop because of a broken taillight, it's okay. It's all part of the new American plan. But hold that pose while I take a naked scan of your body before you board your next flight to see Ma and Pa. You see, you had a Gadsden flag in front of your house, and that makes you the new evil white Al-Qaeda. Apple pie, Chevrolet, happy pills, and taser guns. Yes, there are treatments available. It's time for the Reality Report. Welcome back to the Reality Report. Coming up on tonight's edition, I sit down with chairman and founder of the We the People Foundation, Bob Schultz. He gives us an update on his clash with Time Magazine and tells us about the Liberty Walks that took place all over the country this past weekend. Barry Hess, the Libertarian candidate for Arizona governor, stops in to tell us about his campaign. Michael Murphy, the co-producer of the new film, What in the World Are They Spraying?, came by the RTR studios to tell us about his new chemtrail documentary. We also check out the mailbag and find out who you think is this week's enemy of the state. But first, let's go to the newsroom where Nina Police has today's headlines. Nina?
Thanks, Gary. Although they said it was a mistake, Google has finally admitted to downloading and collecting people's private emails, web pages, and even some passwords from residents in England while taking pictures for their Street View project. The information was collected by antennas on the Google vehicles, which scan for wireless networks. This network information, including the names and ID codes, was then registered to a database used to help it sell advertisements. Google said the information was gathered inadvertently as fragments of data were becoming transmitted. But Alan Eustis, an executive at Google, said he was mortified during an apology and said, "We're acutely aware we failed badly. Internet-based voting for Americans overseas, including military personnel, may not be as safe as the government thought." Assistant Professor of Engineering and Computer Science at the University of Michigan, Alex Halderman, and his students exposed vulnerabilities in the system by hacking in. Halderman later blogged about the hack, saying, "Within 36 hours of the system going live, our team had found and exploited a vulnerability that gave us almost total control of the server software, including the ability to change votes and real voters' secret ballots." The team also decided to play a joke and make it so that after voting, the thank you page plays the University of Michigan fight song. The hackers also reset the system's 4-letter password after observing other attempted attacks from hackers in Iran and China. There has been a lot of discussion lately about the American dollar losing its credibility and value. Goldman Sachs and the Fed just want to print more and more money, and Robin Griffiths, a technical strategist at Casanova Capital, says the dollar could soon be toxic waste. Here is what Ron Paul has to say about it in his weekly Texas Straight Talk segment.
Official core inflation for the U.S. is only 1.1%, but that excludes such crucial day-to-day goods such as food and energy. Real inflation certainly is higher, maybe much higher. John Williams of Shadow Government Statistics calculates true inflation at a whopping 8.4%. But manipulated inflation statistics gives the government cover when they again deny seniors a cost of living increase in their Social Security checks. They also serve to convince the people that further expansion of the money supply will boost the economy without causing any real pain, which has essentially been the core argument of Greenspan-Bernanke Fed policy for the past 20 years. Of course, the United States is not alone in this disastrous monetary policy decisions.
A revolutionary new social networking site is scheduled to launch November 5th. RTR.org uses a new technology that permits you to use your Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, or YouTube account to enter the site. The new website also integrates the social networks of your choosing, including Facebook and Twitter, into one, quote, social wall, where you can access each site's newsfeed in one place. In a recent press release, they state, alongside blogs, videos, events, and group organizing tools, one feature allows you to command your entire social universe by broadcasting your status update to Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, and LinkedIn, effectively making the site a hub to spread the message of freedom and liberty to the millions of people connected to those existing social networks. The site, that functions independently of Facebook, uses only password authentication to allow Facebook users access. Due to the increased password encryption, members who held accounts prior to the site upgrade have to use the password reset function to re-enter the site. To ensure its members' privacy, RTR.org has brought on an ethical hacker to lock down the site from intruders. To check out the new social network of the revolution, visit RTR.org. Those are today's headlines. I'm Nina Police. Gary?
Thank you, Nina. Earlier this week, I got a chance to sit down with Bob Schultz, the chairman and founder of the We the People Foundation. He gave us an update about his battle with Time magazine over a recent article written about him.
Well, we did receive a letter from the Deputy General Counsel for Time, Inc. His name is Stephen Weissman. The letter is dated October 20th. Very short, I'll read it. Dear Mr. Schultz, your Time letter to the editor and accompanying letter to Richard Stangl, the managing editor of Time, has been forwarded to me as corporate counsel to Time magazine. I have carefully reviewed your letters, and while we stand behind our story, we will be including in the November 1st, 2010 issue of Time a significant but necessarily excerpted portion of your letter to the editor. I trust that our publication of your letter will satisfactorily address your concerns. So they're going to be printing something in the November 1st issue. I'll see what they have to say before we and then decide how we'll proceed from there.
We'll be keeping an eye out for the next issue of Time magazine, and we'll keep you updated. Bob also talked to me about this past Sunday's Liberty Walk.
People from 60 cities stepped up and organized Liberty Walks, which were held at 1 o'clock in their time zone, everybody's time zone, 1 o'clock. And we had a program to be followed by each of the Liberty Walks. Here in Glens Falls, for instance, if this is an indicator of what happened elsewhere, we're just thrilled.
The next Liberty Walk date is set for Sunday, November 27th. To see the full interview with Bob Schultz, click the link in the show description. I also got a chance to meet with the Libertarian candidate for Arizona Governor, Barry Hess. Here's what he had to say.
Well, you know what's really funny is I can't find a hostile audience anywhere. The Tea Parties individually have been incredible in their response. And I think I've been to more Tea Parties than most Tea Partiers with, I think, 56 appearances just in the last 8 months. You know, they've been receiving the message in person really enthusiastically, and of course on Facebook and through the website and emails. It looks really encouraging, and one of the things I think that is so striking is we've got 35% undecideds in this race, and that's what's going to win this race, is 35%.
To find out where Barry Hess stands on SB 1070, the economy, and the mortgage crisis, you can watch the full interview by clicking the link below in the show's description. Michael Murphy, the co-producer of the new film What in the World Are They Spraying, stopped by our studio this week to give us an in-depth look at his new film.
They're spraying a lot, but geoengineers propose spraying 10 to 20 million tons of aluminum into the sky to create artificial clouds and block the sun. So what we did Well, in this documentary, we investigated and we went literally around the world into Europe and in many parts of the U.S. And what people are finding in the rain, snow, and soil is massive amounts of aluminum, barium, and strontium. Of course, those are both very toxic to human health and ecosystems, and as a result, we're seeing aluminum-related illnesses go through the roof, and ecosystems are dying around the world, so we're very concerned about this.
That leads me to the question of the week. Are chemtrails a plot to geoengineer, or are they simply contrails? Let us know what you think by emailing us at feedback@freedom.tv. Leave a message on our Facebook page, or you can let us know on our page on rtr.org. We may just read your answer on next week's show. Before we name the most recent enemy of the state, let's take a look at the mailbag where viewers tell us if they think Child Protective Services do more harm to a family than good. We'll start with Robert H., and he says, child protection agencies are the tip of the iceberg of governmental long-term efforts of confiscation of all newborn infants who will be placed in governmental schools and introduced to the brave New World Order. Sharon M. says, I see in so many of these cases that CPS steps in when they really have no right to, and when help is truly needed, they are nowhere to be seen. I have always had reservations about CPS. Lynn C. states, yes, CPA does more harm. Families are traumatized and never receive by this fascist regime. And lastly, Donald W. writes, in most cases that I know of, Child Protective Services has always added a bunch of outright lies when they charge a parent with something in their effort to take away a child. Do you have feedback for us? Send an email to feedback@freedom.tv. Include your name and town and whatever you feel, because it just may end up on the show. Now it's time for this week's Enemy of the State. This week's Enemy of the State comes to you courtesy of Darren L. via Facebook. He says it should be Diebold Incorporated, the company who makes electronic voting machines.
You are able to hack into it in 10 seconds.
It takes only a few seconds to insert a computer virus into this voting machine.
Diebold election machines, ensuring that tyranny wins every time. That's why they are this week's Enemy of the State. Thank you for joining me on this edition of The Reality Report. Please support the message of the independent media by forwarding this video to your friends, your family, and your coworkers. I'm Gary Franchi. I am not here to make you a follower. I'm here to make you a leader among the people. Good night.
Enemy of the State. Available now at campfema.com.